Hi, thanks so much for joining me for this Get Ready With Me featuring my game-changing products. If you'd like to see that, please keep watching. So in addition to my game-changing products, I'll also be talking about what I learned from a recent Chanel class that I took. This class featured a celebrity makeup artist. Her name is Tasha Reiko Brown, and she gave us some really great tips and tricks as well as some big picture things to think about. So I'll be integrating what I learned from her in this Get Ready With Me, and I'll let you know how what I learned will inform how I apply makeup moving forward. So if you'd like to see that, please keep watching. So one of the tips I got from the makeup artist is to make sure skin is prepped correctly. And I always like to go in with something a little bit more mattifying just for my skin type, also to smooth this area because I know that I've got pores in the front, but I always do my typical skincare routine. We're gonna go on top with the Chantecaille Anti-Pollution Mattifying Cream, which I use quite a bit. Usually I just go right up here in the front and in between. Okay, the next step is to start with eyes first. Now, this is not a new tip that I've heard, mostly for the reason of there being fallout. And she talked about there's probably going to be fallout, especially with a softer powder. So even in the world of professional makeup artists, she experiences that as well. So she was saying it's not realistic to expect eyeshadow to not fall. But another reason I thought was really important, and one of those big picture things, is that it will tell you how much foundation or concealer you need. So based on the eye look, it might be different, because I noticed when I do more dramatic looks, I don't need as much coverage on my skin. So let's do that first. We're gonna go in with the eye first, which I normally don't do. We're gonna take this Chantecaille Next Generation Eye Base, which I am still testing. I'm gonna take this in light and just prime my eyebrows. Usually a powder to get some kind of base down there, or a foundation or concealer, but I'm gonna go in with this first. She did mention to go light-handedly with primer as well. I'm also going to go in with medium just on the eyelid, but also to respect each layer, meaning to let each layer kind of set first before you move on. And then not using too much again. Go light-handedly. We are gonna go in with the eyebrows first though, because it kind of helps me figure out the eyeshadow. We're gonna go in with, this is a game changer, the Gucci eyebrow pencil. And this is a game changer because it's so easy to use. It doesn't have anything reflective in it, in its texture. It's a powder pencil. So for me, it has been a game changer in that it always has a beautiful result and has that quality about it that I like, that's kind of soft. So as you can see, the brows are easily built up with that pencil, and I do need to add a little bit of height to this one to make them more even or more symmetrical. And she did talk about how out of everything on the face, she likes her brows to be symmetrical, but everything else kind of is the way it is, but for the brows, as symmetrical as possible. So we're gonna go in next with the Door Show Pump and Brow. And I recently rediscovered this. I actually ordered another one from Sephora. It has been kind of slow in terms of shipping, so it'll get here. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention was to brush the brows first to see what you have before filling in or deciding what to do. She said sometimes she'll brush through someone's brows and realize like, wow, they have a lot of brows, and then deciding what to do. But for me, I kind of already know. Another tip she talked about with brows, which is something I've been doing, is to go with the flow of the hair in terms of the direction. So this part usually goes up and then this actually goes down. So just look at your brows. It'll be different for every brow. There are the brows as symmetrical as possible. We're gonna go now in with shadow, and I wanted to show you the power of this BYREDO palette. I think it's such an interesting one because of the texture. One of the ways I figured out how to use this was after I actually kind of looked at the texture, because they do look quite similar, although if you really look at them, the shades are different. So you've got some really deep shades here and then a lighter shade here, and then you can see the levels of shimmer are different as well. The textures are also different. So that's kind of what drove the whole direction of this palette, because I noticed this one and this one were creamier. So I thought those aren't gonna like blend really well or be able to be buffed out as easily as powder. It's definitely possible, but it's a little bit more difficult, at least in my experience. So that's why I decided to put this down as more of like a base and eyeliner type product, or like a cream eyeshadow product. And then also just to pat this on, because I knew that one wasn't going to like, maybe it will blend easily, but in my mind, it wasn't going to blend as easily. But knowing this was more powdery, that's why I put this closer to the crease so that it was, it had the ability to kind of be buffed out a little bit easier. So we're gonna go in with this first as a base. So this is not a new idea, but I really like this product for that because I don't have any other products like that. So for me, it's a game changer. Even if you don't wear these shades, and not to buy this palette just for this one shade, but if you have this, this is a great one to use with lots of different other palettes. So I'm gonna take that black shade, I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm going to go in with a one and done in a moment. So this shade first, just like before. So just going in a triangle shape. And really just laying that shape down. All the way from the inside. Yeah, it's not quite a cream eyeshadow, but it's definitely creamier than a traditional. Okay, so just as before, I'm putting the color down. I know this looks really intense, but we're gonna take a one and done in a moment. So just taking this, but you can see how it just enlarges the eye. It kind of enhances my eye shape as well. And at first I thought this was like a cream shadow, like an eyeshadow stick, but it's somewhere between that. It's not exactly that. There's definitely a more powdery texture, but also it's not exactly a powder either. It's somewhere in between. If you're a one and done fan, this might be interesting to try, to take your one and done on top of this. Okay, so this is 418 Poncho. I'm gonna apply this right on top and kind of just buff that out. And you'll see it just intensifies, so it's not going to look like this really dark color. It's just gonna intensify this and kind of make it more like an ombre. So that's it really, and then I'm gonna go over this. So I think that's a great way to maximize something like this kind of a palette that I might not use all the time, but I can take this color and do that with this. So I'm going to line my eyes with another game changer. It is this Chantecaille eyeliner. So I'm gonna add this, I will do the other eye, and I'm gonna go in with my favorite, always game-changing mascara, the Chantecaille mascara, and then we'll be back and we'll do some extra things with this eye. Eyeliner really does a lot to enhance a smoky eye. So if you want something that's going to just elevate that smokiness, again, it is a very different look compared to something more casual, but it's that eyeliner that really does it. So another game changer, and I don't know, I mention this often, but I don't know if I really point it out all the time, is using concealer to clean this up. And I think the makeup artist also mentioned that use the concealer to help in this area, because sometimes it's just faster to do it that way. So I've got here the shade Honey. So let's just clean up. I use Mocha, I use Honey. It just kind of depends on how my skin tone is going. But if I am warmer, or if the foundation's warmer, I'll go in with Honey. If it's cooler, I'll go in with Mocha. So you can see how this just cleans up that area without me having to blend, 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 and all that fun stuff on the end here. And then I just go like this all the way to the end of my eyebrow. So that kind of helps with that line as well. And then if it looks too sharp, then I'll just use my fingers here and I'll just kind of pull that color like this gently over the concealer. So then you don't see a line. So that's a little trick that I do that's a game changer for me, because eyeshadow application is not always the easiest. So that's a quick like fix it. Still haven't done the complexion, but you can see how the eyes, the intensity really took away from the discoloration on my face, because I haven't added any foundation, any concealer on my face. So I think that was a really good tip, because here's a big idea that she said where I was like, oh yeah, that's a really interesting thought. She said that you choose what people see and that the eye wants to see less. So depending on your quote unquote audience, are you going to be face to face with people, which is why I love things like, especially my Chantecaille products. So those are really great eyeshadow looks for me when I know it's just a face to face kind of interaction. For camera, I'm going to put a little bit more on. And then she did talk about like Broadway they really have a lot of makeup painted on their faces, just to be mindful of the audience and what the intent is with the makeup. So it's gonna be photographed, is it in person? So that big idea is something I will continue to think about as I do my makeup. So I really loved her big ideas. So we're gonna intensify this eye just a little bit more because I wanna show you how I played with the makeup during the session. It was a glam look. So we're gonna go in with something I thought, what can I pull that's really kind of outside of the box for me? Something I rarely use but want to, but I don't have really anywhere to wear it. So I pulled for this, the road movie, and I think I vlogged this, so you might see the look that I came up with then. I was just really trying to be creative and it wasn't like super neat or anything, but I wanted to see what it could do. So I'm gonna take this shade here. It's a beautiful teal shade. You can already see how it pops against the brown. Even just holding it up here, I don't know if you noticed that, but even just holding it up here, you can see how it's gonna pop, or maybe that's just me. So I'm gonna take that teal shade. I'm just gonna swipe that on the lid really quickly. I just flip the Shade and Sweep brush over like this. So I have the other side of it now. And I'm gonna take a brush and just kind of blend really quickly these two. You can see how this really intensifies it. And so that one and done that I just used, the Dior, actually I was gonna point out an eyeshadow for me that's a game changer, but it reminded me a lot of this shade. So it's not anything new, it's the Chantecaille in Java, this one right here. So I'm gonna swatch them next to each other. I was gonna apply it, but now that I have this Dior on here, let's just see and compare and see how close they are. So here, I'm gonna just move over for a second. Here's Java by Chantecaille. It's a little more powdery. And then here is the Dior Mono in Poncho. A little creamier, but a little bit more pink. I did want to talk about Java by Chantecaille because it is such a lovely crease color and works with anything. Warm colors, cool colors, just with something kind of like a base and then that as a crease color has been really beautiful. That's my go-to crease color when I don't know what else to put in the crease. But I'm thinking that this one might be really pretty too. So it's just kind of a preference thing, but I do like the texture of the Java because it is more powdery, not in a bad way, but it's a little bit more easy to blend in the crease. Actually, let's take a little bit of that since we're talking about it. Even though we had a bit of the Dior product in there, I'm gonna take a little bit of Java by Chantecaille. Make sure I don't have too much here, and then just use that to blend. Yeah, it does have more of a like warmth to it, which is pretty. Also, do you see what happened here? Another reason to not do your foundation first, especially with more bold colors like this. So she talked about having just eye makeup remover at the ready because she does really detailed work and really close up with photography. So she has to be very precise. So she does use eye makeup remover a lot. So I'm gonna go get mine because I don't know what I did with it, but I'm gonna go get that and just need a little blending in a little bit. I'll just see how it goes, but I did want to go in with one more eye product that is a current game changer because the textures. So I used this BYREDO palette, and then I'm also pulling for this one, Metal Boots in the Snow, which I featured before, but I just had to point out again, the textures in here are very unique, at least in the experience I've had with various eyeshadow palettes. So I love their more creamy textures in here. They're not all creamy, but there's a couple in here, and I love this one. So in order to elevate this, I thought we could go in with this green shade, which I think is so pretty, but it's so multi-dimensional, so I'll add it onto this eye. Really beautiful. So you can see the difference, how it elevates this even more. Yeah, with the eye makeup remover again, because this is a little bit tricky. This teal shade is really kind of powdery. So I'm just cleaning up. So again, this is the shade as it looks on from the palette, but you can see it's very different once you, let me show, it's very different once you add it to like this teal eye. Not very different, it just looks different than this. And it looks a lot different than this. Now moving on, let's go to complexion. So now that we have the eyes in place, you can see really that it doesn't look like I need a whole lot of base product. At least from here, that's how it looks. I'll look in the playback to see if that's actually what you see as well. Let's go in with concealer first, and then we'll go on top with foundation, which I don't normally do, but I'm really curious to see how this works. So these are game-changing concealers. These are not going to be a surprise because I always use them. We're gonna go in with the Sisley Under Eye Concealer. This is in the shade 4. By the way, the other one I picked up by Sisley, actually the sponge disintegrated somehow. The highlighting pen. So either I added the cap on incorrectly and I destroyed it as I was applying the cap or something. I don't know. It's very strange. It's like crumbling. So let me know if you have that concealing pen by Sisley and if you have a solution to the sponge being broken. I might write to them and see if they have any replacement sponges. I have no idea, but I thought at least that way I could use the product because it's fairly new. Yeah, so let's go in with Mocha first and see how that goes. Yeah, so I can either go in with Mocha or Honey. I actually don't remember her applying foundation, but I loved what she said about foundation and concealer and discoloration. So one moment here, and I'll explain what she mentioned. So she mentioned if you have discoloration or something that you really need to cover, then color corrector is your best friend because you can color correct and put a very light layer of foundation, which I loved because I think there's a misconception that you need to put a lot of foundation on if you have discoloration, which I personally don't like to do because I don't like to cover my skin up. I like to have my skin show as much as possible and just cover up anywhere where I have discoloration. Let's go in with Honey a little bit here as well. We'll do a little blend. So right now I feel like everything looks quite even and I haven't added any foundation. So I do want to illustrate, even if you have discoloration like me, it's not necessary to put a mask of makeup on. Of course, if that's what you like, go ahead and do that. But for me, I like to have my skin show through and just strategically conceal. So that is no foundation. Go in with not all three of these, but the Chanel Water Fresh Tint. This again has that property about it. If you're not familiar with this product, it does emulsify things. So it is kind of breaking down the concealer underneath, which I expected because this does a great job of breaking down makeup that's kind of been on your face for a while and needs refreshing. So that's what I love about this. Okay, now we're gonna go in with Medium Plus around the exterior. And this does allow the skin to show through. I feel like my lighting's all over the place today, so excuse the lighting, even though it's artificial lighting. It's, I think, having a hard time adjusting because of the eye makeup. So we could go there, just conceal and then powder, but I did want to go in and just go in with a little bit of the Chantecaille, which is my other game-changing foundation. I have a few of them. We're going to take the shade Nude because that has the most coverage while being a lovely thin texture. So I haven't found another foundation like this that has that kind of coverage without being a lot of makeup. So I'm just gonna go in the center here. This is again the shade Nude. I'm gonna use it almost as my concealer as well. Definitely buildable. I'm gonna go ahead and use concealer again on the corners just to fix that area right there. I'm always concealing and reconcealing this area just depending on where we are in the process. Now, one thing all of these concealers have in common is that they don't crease. So that's another reason I love them all so much. We're gonna go in with La Prairie and I don't powder under my eye area. Another thing I love is that I can spot conceal with this shade, which I'm going to do up here up front. Now another game changer is this brush, this MER Powder Brush, because it's so fluffy and really gentle on the face when applying powder, of course. So I'm gonna go in with the RODIAL powder. I will keep my eye on this for when it becomes more available, but I've been loving this as a loose powder. So here it is. It is a bit of a game changer because it's one of those loose powders that I can set with that doesn't negate this concealing in the front. And I can just do this with it and really light layer of powder. So anything you want to apply really light-handedly, this is a really wonderful brush that I've relied on quite a bit. We're gonna go in with a very much a non-surprise game changer because I use it in every video almost. I try not to use it sometimes, but I can't help it. So it's the, and this is a new one, Perfect Blur Powder by Chantecaille. So no surprises here. It just perfects the texture as well as the tone of my skin. Of course, this is perfect pairing with the Buff and Blur brush. I have the regular size. I also have this mini one that I like to travel with. Now, she also talked about adding blush first before bronzer or contour, which is actually the opposite of what I normally do because I like to see what the shape of my face looks like before I add blush. But her position made a lot of sense in that she said sometimes you can carve out a shape with blush or establish a shape with blush, and then you might not need as much bronzer or contour depending on what you use. So we're going in with one of my favorite new blushes. This is a game changer because I love how natural this looks. It looks like just a flush of color on the cheeks. Doesn't look like makeup on your cheeks and lasts a nice amount of time. So this is the Victoria Beckham Cheeky Posh shade in Major. So they're all lovely shades. I have a video where I show all of them on. I try them all on. By the way, this is a game changer as well. The Clay de Peau blush brush. It really has made cream application so much easier for me because it doesn't lift off makeup at the same time. So I've had a lot of luck with it. So right on top of powder. Of course, I think this looks really beautiful right on just clean skin, but I do have makeup on today. I love that it can be stippled like this. I just kind of bounce it like this in the front where I have more concealing, or in this case, really it's more of that foundation. We'll go nice and light with this. Just a little bit of color because we're going to, of course, layer these. So this can be used for cream or powder, but I like to use it for cream and other liquid type products. I feel like I maximize this brush that way because it's a solution, because it doesn't disturb my makeup appear. So I want to take it light because I'm going to add another blush. So another game-changing blush, because this looks so beautiful on the skin, it actually makes my skin look better. So anything that can do that where my skin looks better with it on, and it's a blush, which I love anyway, that's a game changer. And I've been loving this shade. It's a Clay de Peau blush duo in 105. So I think it goes really nicely, especially with this kind of eye. So it's kind of a little bit of that like peachiness to it. So I'm going to take first this lighter shade. This is how I love to use this. I've shown this a few times. Yeah, this is like a staple blush at this point. So I don't know if you can see, it has the most beautiful finish on the skin. Just a glow, nothing shimmery, nothing sparkly, just a beautiful glow, a skin enhancing kind of blush. We're gonna go in though with the deepest shade here as a little bit of a contour, I guess. That's what I love the most about this particular combination, because it does have a little bit of like a brownish tone in it, so I think that works really nicely. Now is the time to go in with any kind of bronzer, contour. So I'm gonna go in with Grwm's. This is the gold bronze from the holiday collection. Let's just use this brush for that. We'll do a light dusting. Okay, I also feel I need to bring that teal up just a little bit further on the eye, because like when I relax my eyes, sometimes the color can get lost. Just bring it up a little bit slightly higher. MER 6.5 is a game changer because I can just really blend quite easily with this. Yeah, I think that's the hardest kind of shadow to work with, something that's deep in color, but also more powdery, so that teal from the Road Movie palette is a little bit trickier because it has had some fallout and it's harder to clean up. Going ahead now with lip, this has been a game changer simply because it is my lip shade, and I can't find another lip liner that does this job, where it just neutralizes my lip color, and that allows me to put on any lip shade and I can see the true color of that lip. So I didn't even apply it to my whole bottom lip, I just applied it to the exterior. So if you look closely, or I don't have to look closely, if you notice, there's a natural outline on my lips, like I have a deeper liner on, but just natural coloring, but sometimes it can interfere with lipstick or lip gloss or lip anything. So that's why I go in with this. Chantecaille Lip Definer in Natural. Okay, we have a couple of lip options here. Still love this formula. The Chanel, the liquid lipsticks, these are game changers because they stay in place. They're not uncomfortable. They wear really beautifully. So I'm looking at intense caramel or tender beige. So I do want something that's more warm, but they're so close looking. This is tender beige and this is intense caramel. Actually, intense caramel looks like it has just slightly more warmth to it. So let's go in with that. So we're gonna let that set, and then just wanna fix this shape. It's going up a little bit too much for me. So let me take a little bit of powder, just running this under the brow bone on this side as well. Okay, now that that's set, let's go in with this other side, which is clear. And I think a little bit more of an undone hair look helps this look less severe, I'm gonna say, because I think sometimes with bold eyes, something more casual with the hair is kind of a nice contrast. So I picked a game-changing fragrance because I feel like this works for any occasion, anytime, daytime, evening. It just smells beautiful and appropriate for anything. So it is the Baccarat Rouge 540. And I love the balance in this. It's one of those fragrances where when I'm not sure what to apply, I go for that one because I know I'll always be happy. Are there any more tips that I missed here? Using the right foundation for you, remembering that the eye is the thinnest area, so as little makeup as possible, especially under there, helps to keep that look nice and fresh. And then she said, do what works for you, and I love that because what might work for someone else might not work for the next person. So I love keeping that in mind. And she said, really knowing your face and studying your features and knowing what works for you again and what doesn't. And I think finally after all these years I know my features and what works and what doesn't work, but it's taken a lot of time. She also mentioned adding shimmer right there to the center of the eye, or again where it works for you, but with the idea that lighter shades or shimmery shades are going to bring things forth. Respecting each layer, which again if you're using primer, things like that, or just allowing things to do what they need to do before going in with the next product. Choosing what people see and the eye wants to see less, which I think is such an interesting big idea that I'm going to really keep in the front of my mind. Using less foundation, but really just addressing things with color corrector, or in my case, concealer as well. Blush before the bronzer. Of course, do whatever order you want to do, but I thought that was kind of an interesting idea about putting that blush first and then deciding what to do with bronzer. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if I'll keep doing that, but I liked playing with that. Thanks to Chanel for once again allowing me to participate in another one of their classes with an amazing celebrity makeup artist. So I'd love to know what your game changers are. Please leave them in the comments section below. But that is it for today's video, so please take care of each other. Stay well if you enjoyed this video. If you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time.